Surely you saw this coming. I never get nearly enough time to talk about design when we're doing our reviews. And so I'm starting a new design series, which I've previously mentioned, and what better car than to start with the most compromised car ever designed, in my opinion, the 2020 Corvette Stingray, which is mid-engine for the first time ever in production. GM has moved the entire passenger compartment 16.5 inches forward. It's also a car that GM, and from the very beginning, Zora Arkus-Duntov was pushing for years and saying, and trying to figure it out, saying, this is the car the Corvette should have been. And finally, here we have it. But the one thing that I didn't want GM to compromise on was the styling. At some point, I wanted them to stop sketching, stop drawing lines all over the car. Everything should be resolved at the back, and I think it looks too tall. I like from there up, I like that part of the car. But what designers have done is black out the rear valance area, this entire rear area where the exhaust is, to hide the visual height of the car. Turn this opacity down just so we can sketch over it and select a new layer. That's the layer we're starting on. But right here in Sketchbook, you can turn on symmetry. So we've got a center line, and I'm still got the periscope camera, just like Zora was playing with in the 60s. Okay, so now this is on. Turn that on, leave that on there, and what we can do is go back to full screen. So when we start sketching, you can see it's both sides of the car, and we get a nice symmetrical sketch here. You've got this hugely aggressive talon or claw theme right at the mid three-quarter part of the car, repeated for the rear lights, which is fine, but I'm gonna turn it the other way. I'm gonna start here and essentially turn it going the other way, and I'm gonna overemphasize it just a little bit. Do the same thing right about there. Overemphasize the size of it. This right here now points to the center line of the car, where everything culminates. I'm fine with leaving these the same height because that does establish where the top deck is right here. We've got the wing. I'm not gonna do too many changes to the wing, that's fine. But also what's important is to push this out there. Just these shapes are lit up, nothing else. Everything else back in here, I don't want it to turn out Camaro looking. So we're leaving that. Here's just the sides of the car here. And then down here, what really will establish power isn't the squircle. I want circle, I want full circles. That to me says power on both sides. And coming across here, this could be really simple with aero. Show me the race car breeding, show that to me. Underbody diffuser right back here. That could be really interesting and sexy and cool right there. Yeah. And you can see how quickly that's established because I've got symmetry on. So leave this right there in the middle that says aero, something that says racing. I like that. And then of course leave the license tag right where it is, that's fine. But this whole heat exhaust right here that's established, let's overemphasize that. That just says performance like crazy. All right. And this area right in the center, again, is license tag. I like that. Simpler, cleaner. Maybe all this from here down could just be blacked out. Let's do it a little bit straighter. From here all the way to the ground is blacked out. So I just see a little bit of red, a little bit of body color in here, and these talon shapes, this establishes, you could play endlessly. You could kind of smooth them out and turn them around, bring them back like this. This is all blacked out right there, fully blacked out. It is the rear of the car that needs the most work. Push this into the future, make it even slimmer, not quite so tall looking, because it is a tall rear end. You see it in photos? And then yeah, say performance. It still gives your eye something familiar to land on. That gives me a feeling of the 68 car or something like that, where you love the rear taillights. That's what circular rear exhaust will do for this car. I want to present to you a different thought, and that is mid-engine muscle. for what the C8 could have been. In our film, American Original, Todd and I have driven every generation. My favorite is still the 1963 split window with the fine line all the way around, bisecting the two halves of the car, top to bottom, and then beautiful sculpted fenders. Larry Shinoda was the designer of that car, and many cars. I don't think that sharp creases around a car lend timeless feels to it. The 63 Corvette is an exception. We're going to start with GM's actual photo from their press release. As soon as you bring it in from your library, you can scale it to how big you want to sketch over, and that's exactly what we're doing. I just want to sketch over and show you this theme. This wheelbase is actually longer than the C7, the prior generation car. In plan view, it's pretty aggressive, but in elevation view, it's actually fairly straight. In every sketch, you want to let your lines draw through. You want to just sketch through everything, and I'm just going to go real light to start with. That fine line that I talked about on the 63 car is reflected here on this car too. It doesn't actually go quite as low as the 63 car. It's a little bit higher, but it does establish the front nose shape here. All right, DLO is right here. That stands for daylight opening, and that is the windows that you look out of. And I'm just simply establishing, first of all, this and the windshield, of course, and just doing real light sketching to start with. This is just going to be my base sketch here because, again, you can use layers, which is nice. So right here is this talon shape. I think should have been moved back all the way here and then use this as the highlight all the way down the car. This is the highlight upward facing surface right here, and then all the way up into that flying buttress here. So something like this. Now, I'm not saying that the Corvette should mimic the Huracan because you know the Huracan, those intakes are pretty high. I want to make sure it has its own feel. I want it to be mid-engine muscle. Every other mid-engine car you can think of isn't that way. It's simply sports car, mid-engine, performance car. Corvette has the ability and is the only car that can do that. Turn that talon shape in reverse, upside down, and then sketch through. So that's my highlight shape. And then maybe this could be a little bit lower right at the rear. When you open the door, that current triangle talon shape at the very end of it, it looks funny, it looks very strange. Plus it's got a plastic piece right over the top of it. But if we do something like this and this theme goes all the way through, that won't ever touch the door because here's where your door cut is. And it can just come out and be a more natural surface. And that's what I think timeless, long-lasting car designs have more sexy, sensuous, relaxed, full surfaces, rather than something that's tight and there's a lot of tension. But I do want it to kind of flow up into this flying buttress here. And starting to sketch around the car, give it a center line, of course a little window reflection. I want these headlights to stand out by themselves. The hierarchy is wrong. Everything is taken away from the hierarchy and the emphasis put on these headlights right here. I want those to stand alone. I just want this to be just a beautiful surface. These fender shapes are already there. Let's really concentrate on those and leave the rest of the surface alone. Why not? And of course, the deeper the dish on the rear, I think the better. So a little bit on the front. I'm not convinced about the flat face wheels. This is a muscle car. That's how Corvettes drive. They're sports cars, they're GT cars, but they're muscle cars too. So I'm just indicating right now what I think. A little bit deeper dish, gives it a little bit more aggressive flair back there, but it leaves everything else alone here. So not quite so flat faced. I would love it if carbon wheels were on this car, but for right now, let's just leave that there. Okay, so this upward facing surface, I see a lot of fussy twists and turns for various lines because you've established something and then there's a jog in it. And I don't understand it. I see that a lot on Range Rovers, and I know that you want something interesting to surprise and delight your eye, but in many cases, I don't think it's necessary. So all the way forward, that leaves this area clear for elevation, and then you can bring it in for plan, that's fine. Maybe this wraps around here, maybe that continues, but this shape here, Where is the main point of power? It wraps around to the rear of the car. All the power is centered where my lines go. I don't want all the lines up here. The aggressiveness is uninteresting and takes away from where the power is. What we're talking about is mid-engine power. This whole area is what I want to justify the width of the car, and it is wide to fit golf clubs in the back. But if we just leave it wide, this more interesting element establishes and justifies the width of the car and leave everything else alone to make it just sensual, beautiful surfaces. So leave me your comments. I'm curious to know what you think in this design series. I'm not taking this to full renderings. I just want to sketch out ideas and kind of play around with some that would make the car better in everything the Corvette has done. It's been brilliant. We love how they drive. They're an amazing value, but the style, that's not quite there. I'm curious to hear what you think, and until next time.
Cheers, everyone.
Since 2007, Everyday Driver has been finding great cars and experiences for real people. Now we're delivering more content to more places than ever before.
Our TV show premieres on the Motor Trend cable channel and can also be found on Amazon Prime. Plus, older episodes are available worldwide on Pluto TV and Vimeo.
Our Top 10 podcast, The Car Debate, takes your questions and helps you find the perfect car.
Whole garages and even a few marriages have improved over 500 episodes, with new ones dropping every Tuesday and Friday.
On YouTube, we cover cars of all kinds, from exotics to haulers and even hybrids, while Nate reviews motorcycles.
Plus, we've got 5 feature films, including unique retrospectives of the 911, the M3, and the Corvette.
And if that's not enough, we host meetups, live podcasts, and even driving trips to Europe.
So thanks for watching, listening, and supporting what we do.